And now we are going to present our MTA Friend of Education Award for 2013 to former Secretary of Education, Paul Reville. We have met many outstanding education leaders in this state, including many in this room. This year's award winner stands out for his leadership in many varied and influential roles since his days as a classroom teacher. I'm talking about Paul Reville, who's recently left his job as the state's Secretary of Education to return to Harvard as a senior faculty member at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Paul began his career working with youth in Somerville as a VISTA volunteer. He became a teacher and later the principal of 2 alternative urban high schools. He is also the father of children who have attended the Worcester Public Schools, so he does understand a lot about the challenges of urban education. Paul was the founding executive director of Alliance for Education, which was part of a national network advocating for quality public schools. Later, he co-founded the Massachusetts Business Alliance for Education, which was instrumental in passing the Education Reform Act of 1993 and greatly increasing funding for our K-12 public schools in terms of billions of dollars. Still later, he founded and directed the Rennie Center for Education Research and Policy. I first got to know Paul when I was president of the Cambridge Teachers Association and took part in a Rennie Center initiative that brought together union and management teams from a variety of districts across the state to discuss how we could work together to improve educational outcomes. As a result of this work to improve labor management relationships, the Cambridge Public Schools and the CTA streamlined hiring processes to try to attract and hire more diverse teachers, established 2 expanded learning time schools, created an alternative high school and a public Montessori school, and developed a new high school schedule, among other positive things that we did through joint labor management initiatives. I know other districts such as Worcester, Brockton, and Springfield also benefited from these efforts in different ways. Governor Deval Patrick appointed Paul chairman of the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education at about the same time I moved into statewide leadership positions at the MTA. When Governor Patrick created a new Office of Education overseeing public education, preschool through public higher ed, he appointed Paul as our Secretary of Education. So I've had a chance to work closely with Paul on many education policies approved in recent years. He always sought the views of the MTA when important policy decisions affected our members and were being considered. We may not have always agreed on every decision that was made, but he certainly looked for our insight and our input into the policies. We were not an afterthought, but an important partner. Paul led efforts to spearhead the passage of the Achievement Gap legislation in 2010 and the Commonwealth's successful application for the Race to the Top funds. He made himself and his staff available to MTA day and night. On both the state and national stages, he constantly emphasizes the need to involve teachers and their unions in developing policy rather than being the objects of reform. Like Governor Patrick, Paul Reville has always been quick to praise teachers. Having taught in urban district schools, he knows what a difficult job we have, and he knows that student performance is not 100% under our control. He regularly advocates for more resources for wraparound services in our schools and communities and acknowledges that not everything can be done by schools and educators alone. But he also knows that effective teachers can make a huge difference in students' lives. With that understanding, he was always eager to work with all of the education and parent groups to try to figure out new and better ways to close achievement gaps and make sure students reach their potential in school. For his lifelong commitment to quality public education, I am pleased to present Paul Reville with our 2013 Friend of Education Award.
Well, thank you very much, Paul, for that generous introduction. First of all, thank you to all of you for the work that you do day in and day out on behalf of our students and to make Massachusetts the leading state in student achievement in the country. It's deeply appreciated by me personally and by all those who I've represented in various partnership roles that I've played with you over time. Thank you. Secondly, I want to thank or congratulate my fellow honorees. And Kathleen, great job on your comments. And Senator, congratulations to you for your tireless leadership on these issues. You know, I've worked, as Paul said, for over 30 years in various capacities, trying to bring about greater delivery on the promise of education to the students of the Commonwealth. That is, we have both a moral and self-interested economic obligation to educate all of our students to a high level. And though we've done well in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, doing well isn't good enough, and we have a long way to go in terms of improving performance. I've had a chance to work with MTA over the years in delivering on that promise, because I've always believed that the kind of work that we do as policy people, as a research person, as a practitioner, we will only be successful if we do our work with the field and not to the field. And MTA has been, thank you. MTA has been a great partner in that work, and never a stronger partner, I would add, than now under your leadership, Paul. You have brought MTA to the table in meaningful ways, both at the state level here in Massachusetts and nationally, and you've really made a mark for this Teachers Association in ways that are really important and I think suggest the direction of the future. I've loved the chance to work with your leadership team, with people like Tim, with Ann Clark and Joe Blum and Kathy Skinner, just to name a few of the folks on staff who've always provided thoughtful, quality advocacy on behalf of you, the members, but in ways that try to constructively seek solutions and recognize that times are changing and recognize that unless this association has a strong, thoughtful, clear voice, we run the risk that policy will in fact get done to people in the field, not with them, by them, and informed by them. And I think you can, throughout our efforts over time, collaboratively, see the mark that you have made on important policies that have affected the field in education. As we go forward, we've got important work to do here. We have, as you know better than anyone, the Common Core standards coming. We have new assessments coming. We are once again going to be faced with the gap between our aspirations for what we hope education will do for all students and our performance. And we will once again be faced with many voices telling us what needs to happen day to day in schools. And once again, it will be important that your voice be represented. In my view and my work going forward, I'm not just going back to the academy to reflect and teach, but to push the work in a different way. My focus coming forward will be, how do we do a more effective job of connecting schools with the rest of the community, because schools alone, we've proved in Massachusetts, can't do the jobs themselves, particularly for students who have huge challenges facing them, and the 80% of their waking hours lived outside of school. So how do we deliver on this idea of it takes a village? And what sort of connective tissue do we need to build between schools and health and human service agencies to close gaps in health and well-being and mental health? What kind of connections to community and family agencies, arts and cultural organizations, recreational organizations do we need to close enrichment gaps, as we daily are confronted with new studies that tell us how much the advantages and disadvantages of enrichment opportunities that children get outside of school are having an impact on achievement within school. We can no longer go forward with blinders thinking that we're going to get this done, this equality of opportunity, this meritocracy society, by just investing in schools or just lashing schools with increasing accountability. We've got to build out in ways others have described as a broader, bolder way. That's important work, and it's important that you lead that work. And the work won't necessarily always be easy. It's going to require imagination. It's going to require the use of new tools, technology, various innovations in practice, various reconsiderations of who teaches and how we teach and where we teach and when we teach and what constitutes professionalism and how we use professional time in education. All of this, I submit, is going to be on the table. And it's going to require a teacher voice that's clear, that's thoughtful, that's imaginative, that's flexible, that builds on the strengths and resources and assets of our time, and makes up for the deficits of the way we've done business so far. So I see us at the threshold of a very exciting chapter in education and education reform. I think MTA and you all are ideally positioned to play a leadership role in that work, and I look forward very much to working with you on it. Thanks very much for your award, and thank you more especially for your service.